right, as we get started today, we're going to begin with another speed drill. So open up your speed drill booklets to page 8. We're going to do speed test number 17. Got a multiplication box here. Again, you take the columns or rows you feel best about first. If you feel good about all of it, then go ahead and go in order. You'll have 2 minutes to complete this multiplication box. And everyone here looks like they are ready, so you may begin.
Let's see.
You're allergic to multiplication box. Stop. Pencils down. Or pencils off your desks, excuse me. Pencils off your desks. First in the back, bring yours up to the front. Everyone else just pass yours back to the person behind you for grading. Pencils off your desks. Pens are out. Sign your name in pen as the grader. Next to where it says speed test 18, at the bottom, speed test 17. In pen, sign your name as the grader. We're going to go across the top row. I'll read each answer aloud. At the end of the row, put the total number incorrect. Hopefully it'll be a -0. Starting with the 12. Class, our answers are 60, 12, 72, 36, 132, 144, 120, 24, 96, 108, 48, 84. Put the total number wrong at the end of the row. The row beginning with the 8. Your answers are 40, 8, 48, 24, 88, 96, 80, 16, 64, 72, 32, 56. I have a inaccuracy I just noticed on my answer key on the next row, so I'm going to amend a couple of these answers here. The next row, beginning with the 9. The answers are 45, 9, 54, 27, 99, 108, 90, 18. The next answer should be 72. The answer key has it incorrect. The one after that should be 81. If you're watching, the answer key has that incorrect. 36 and 63. So again, the last 4 answers on the row, 72, 81, 36, 63. The last row going across, beginning with the 11, the answers are 55, 11, 66, 33, 121, 132, 110, 22, 88, 99, 44, 77. All right, figure the total number incorrect, multiply that by 2, and subtract from 100. They are 2 points each. So figure how many wrong, multiply by 2, and subtract from 100. Put the score in the score blank, and put the score on that score page where it says Speed Drill 17. All right, once you got them graded, person in the front, take it to the back. Everyone else just pass it forward to the person in front of you so they can get their booklet back. Thank you, Mike. It's okay. I will be regrading them, so if there's an issue, don't worry about it. I will take care of it. But I'm curious, are there any hundreds today? Any hundreds? Several. How about 90-somethings? You missed 5 or fewer. Excellent. 80-somethings. Managed to miss 10 or fewer. Still pretty respectable. Questions at all? All right, go and pass those forward if you would, please, putting yours on top. Pass those forward, putting yours on top. Once you passed it forward, get your book out. Turn to page 233. That's some review problems for you. There at the bottom of page 233, you're going to do numbers 49 to 58. 49 to 58 in the review section. Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to check the extra credit?
We will do that in just a little bit, yes.
Oh.
All right, but for now, working on the classwork, page 233, the review numbers 49 to 58. Numbers 49 to 58, got a few of those conversions to practice with, and then some miscellaneous problems, reviewing over different things we've talked about this year. A couple people already finished. Just another minute or so to be finishing up. All right, pencils down. Even if you're not finished with all of these review problems. Number 49, we're converting from pounds to ounces. Is that going to be larger to smaller or smaller to larger, Sam?
Larger to smaller.
Larger to smaller class, we multiply. In this case, Sam, we multiply by 16. And how many ounces did you get?
I accidentally divided.
Oh, you divided. Elaine?
1,088.
1,088 ounces is correct. Number 50, we're going from feet to inches. Is that larger to smaller or smaller to larger, Bryson?
No, large, small.
On number 50,
Oh.
how big's a foot?
12.
This big. How big's an inch?
Inch.
That big. So we're going from larger to smaller or smaller to larger?
Small, no, large.
Larger to smaller. So we're going to multiply by
12.
12. And when we do, we get? Luciana?
114 inches.
114 inches should be our answer. Number 51, going from feet to yards. Is that larger to smaller or smaller to larger, Griffin?
Smaller to larger.
Smaller to larger this time. So this time we're going to
Divide
by
3.
to get
42.
42 yards when we divide by 3. Number 52, quarts to gallons. Is that larger to smaller or smaller to larger, Jalen?
Quarts to yards.
Quarts to gallons.
Oh.
Number
quarts
52.
to gallons. 20, larger to smaller. No, large to bigger. My brain is larger.
Smaller to larger. She had the right hand motion. Smaller to larger. So we're going to
Divide.
by
4.
4 because there's 4 quarts in a gallon, and we get
23.
23 gallons is correct. Number 53, 5 tablespoons. How many teaspoons? Are we going larger to smaller or smaller to larger, Corey?
Larger to smaller.
Larger to smaller, we're going to
Multiply.
by
3.
to get 15 teaspoons when we multiply by 3. Number 54, 7 miles to feet. Are we going from larger to smaller, smaller to larger, Kirsten?
Larger to smaller.
Huge to much smaller, we're going to multiply by,
5,200.
and we get
37,040.
a little bit of a multiplication issue there. Bryson wanted some redemption from earlier anyway.
36,960.
Yeah, so you did multiply by 5,280, just had a multiplication error in there somewhere. Should have been 36,960 feet for our answer. Number 55, they want us to reduce to lowest terms. What did you get when you reduced, Michael?
33 over 50.
Good, we can cut it in half and then cut it in half again. Or, if you noted, 32 is divisible by 4, double zero is always divisible by 4, and that'll take it down to lowest terms of 33 to 50. Number 56, the ratio of girls to boys. If there are 5 boys and 11 girls, how would we write that ratio? Ben?
5 over 11.
Well, if they wanted the ratio of boys to girls, yes, but notice they said it wants the ratio of girls to boys. They were being tricky. So
11 over 5.
11 to 5. Don't you hate it when they're sneaky like that? 11 to 5 is the answer. Number 57, we want to round to the nearest million, Sam. 8 million is correct. And number 58, they want to know what percent 85 is of 125. Do you notice, class, they changed the wording? Normally they would word it 85 is what percent of 125. They mixed up that wording, didn't they? but they're finding a percent. And I told you, whenever you want a percent, class, you need to make a fraction. What fraction should we have made here, Elaine?
85 over 125.
85 over 125. We reduce it down, we change it all up, and we end up with what answer?
68%.
68% is correct. That's it for the review. Anyone perfect on all the ones you did? Even if you didn't finish all of them, the ones you did were correct. All right. Questions on any of these? Questions on any of these? Real quick, let's review something before we look at the extra credit from yesterday. Yesterday we were working on taking a single unit, maybe something like, I don't know, 14 teaspoons. And instead of converting it just into tablespoons, is it going to convert evenly to tablespoons, class? No. Because, of course, you're going from a smaller unit to a larger unit. And going smaller to larger, class, we divide. And if we divide by 3, it's not going to work out evenly. But rather than get it as a mixed number, we could convert it into a certain number of tablespoons and some leftover teaspoons. But we still, going smaller to larger, divide, class, by 3. 3 goes into 14, class? 4 times, which means that's 4 whole tablespoons. But instead of making a fraction with the remainder, we literally just leave the remainder, class. 3 goes into 14 4 times with a remainder of 2. And the 2 remaining teaspoons just get left as a remainder. Do we remember doing this yesterday?
Yeah.
We then used this to add together mixed measures. And I said when you add mixed measures, you just add up the one units, add up the other units, but with whatever the smaller unit is, you want to convert it up to a portion of larger units. We did that on the next page, or previous page, number 13, number 14 at the top of the page. And let's have Kirsten read about Sophia.
Sophia picked the following fruit from her garden last week. 4 pecks, 3 quarts of apples, 2 pecks, 1 quart of oranges, and 7 pecks, 5 quarts of peaches, 4 quarts of raspberries, and 7 quarts of strawberries. How many total pecks and quarts did Sophia pick?
I don't know if all those come in season at the same time, by the way, because I feel like oranges are a winter fruit down in Florida. I've driven through Florida. I grew up in Pensacola. Oranges don't grow naturally in Pensacola, but they do grow quite a bit in South Florida. I feel like that's more of like a November, December fruit. Apples, I feel like, are an October, November fruit up north. Peaches are very much a June, July fruit here in Columbus, Alabama, or Georgia, Alabama. Raspberries, I don't remember exactly when they grow. I think they're a summer fruit. Strawberries are like in April, May. So realistically, she didn't pick all of these in 1 week. Okay, but that's not the point of the problem. The point of the problem is to see how much fruit she would have had if this was a utopia. Maybe this is in one of her dreams and she's dreaming of heaven where all the fruit can grow at once. I don't know. Anyway, we're just going to add it up. And if we weren't lazy, we would write all these things out. And maybe you did. I am lazy. I don't want to write them all out. So I'm just going to focus on the quarts. Let's keep track of just the quarts, class. 3 plus 1 plus 5 plus 4 plus 7. 21. We get 21 quarts. Now let's go through and add up just the pecks. I got 4 pecks plus 2 pecks. 6 plus 7.
13.
And there's no more pecks. So that's going to be 13 pecks. How many, first of all, attempted number 13? You did number 13. All right, we got several of you. Tell me what, let me have you do this. Let me have, let's have Michael and Ben trade books real quick. Let's have you 3. Luciana, bring yours up to Jalen, and you 3 exchange. And then Corey and Elaine, you 2 trade. And now we've got somebody else's book. And check and see how we did here. We should have initially gotten the 13 pecks, 21 quarts. While they're exchanging, there were just a few of you didn't, and that's fine. It was extra credit. You didn't have to do it. Any of you questions on what we just did to add up all the quarts and then add up all the pecks? That's the easy part, right? Now, we got to convert. How many quarts are in a peck, class? 8. So we're going to divide by 8. How many times does 8 go into 21, class? Twice. So that gives us 2 whole pecks. How many left over? 5. Because 8 times 2 is 16. If we subtract away that 16, it should leave us with 5 leftover quarts. And now we're up to how many pecks, class? 15 pegs. This is the answer that the textbook has. Now, it's possible that the person whose paper you're grading, or checking rather, decided, well, it takes 4 pecks class to make a bushel. If we wanted to, we could say, well, how many 4s are in 15 class? 3. So we could make 3 bushels, still have 3 leftover pecks, and then the 5 quarts, but I believe the problem expressly said, how many total pecks and quarts did she pick? They didn't want you to do this, but if somebody did do that, I would still give them credit. How many of you, the person whose book you are checking, they had one of these answers, probably this one. This is the preferred answer. The book you're checking had this answer. Nobody. Okay, you raised your hand?
Me?
Did you raise your hand? Whoever's you had?
No.
Okay. Nobody had that. It's okay. Questions then. From those of us, since nobody got it correct, questions.
It was off by 1.
Oh, all right. Well, let's take a look at number 14. And go ahead and read about Coach Lewis. Let's see. Corey, you're on the basketball team, right? Anyone else on the basketball team? Sam's? Okay, several of you guys on the basketball team. Corey, I'm going to have you read about Coach Lewis.
Coach Lewis measured the height of 6 basketball players: 6 feet 4 inches, 5 feet 10 inches, 6 feet 1 inches, 6 feet 5 inches, 5 feet 8 inches, and 6 feet 3 inches. What was the total height of all 6 basketball players?
How many of you think it's really mean for them to put this problem in a 7th grade math book just to make 7th graders feel short? Like, y'all haven't hit, most of you haven't hit your growth spurt yet. Now, Ben has, right? But and Bryson might have, I don't know. But most of us haven't hit the growth spurt yet. We're still waiting on that magical moment when we go from this tall to that tall, right? For me, it was 9th grade. I grew 6 inches in 9th grade. I went from 5'2" to 5'8", and then over the next couple of years grew a few more inches. But yeah, that was a good year for growth. I was no longer little and short. I was tall. So anyway, this is really mean of them to put this in here, because these are clearly varsity basketball players, okay? They're not measuring the junior high team. Anyway, we're going to start by adding up, class, all of the inches. You could start with the feet if you wanted to, but let's start with the inches. Let's see, 4 plus 10,
14,
plus 1,
15,
plus 5,
20,
plus 8,
28,
plus 3.
31,
31. So we should have 31 inches starting out. Then we add up all the feet. 6 plus 5,
11.
plus 6,
17.
plus 6 more, 23, plus 5 more,
28.
plus 6 more.
34.
All right, so we should have 34 feet, 31 inches initially. But how many inches to make another foot, class? 12. How many 12s are in 31, class? 2. So we're going to add 2 more feet. Now those 2 feet are 24 inches. Take those away from the 31, class. We're left over with 7 inches, and then add this together to get 36 feet. How many of you, the book you are checking has 36 feet, 7 inches for the answer? Let me jot down this information here. All right. So you have Elaine's. You have Michael's. You have Bryson's.
Yes.
You have Jalen's. And you have Luciana's.
Yes.
All right, did I get all the hands? All right, trade books back. While books are being traded back, any questions on either of these problems? Any questions on either of these problems? All right. Then if you would, turn over to page 229. Once you got your books back there, turn back to page 229. And, if, for instance, we had 4 basketball players and all of them were exactly 5 feet 4 inches tall. These are, we're thinking junior hires now. All right, so we got 4 guys and they're all 5 feet 4. Now, these aren't all the guys on the basketball team, but there happen to be 4 guys all the same height. We could add 5 feet 4 inches plus 5 feet 4 inches, but we could do that, right? But it'd be easier just to say times 4, wouldn't it? And so we want to talk now about how to multiply a mixed measure by some number, some value, some factor here. And it's pretty straightforward. If for addition class I say, just add them up, then for multiplication, what do you think I'm going to say? Just multiply. For addition, just add them up. For multiplication, just multiply them. Yeah. So 4 times 4 inches, class.
16.
16 inches, no big deal. 4 times 5 feet, class. 20 feet, no big deal. But we're now going to, on the back end, do exactly what we would have done for addition. Because after all, this is just fast addition. We'll say how many inches to make a foot? 12. And I've got 12 inches that can make an extra foot. I end up with how many feet now, class?
21.
21 feet, and I'm left with how many inches? Just 4 more inches for the combined heights there. Look at the example problem in the book. They take 6 weeks, 5 days. They multiply by 3. Notice their initial answer they get here, Ben.
2 weeks and 1 day.
Their initial answer that they got when they multiplied by 3 is right above that, actually. It's
18 weeks and 15 days.
18 weeks, 15 days, right? And they said, well, 15 days? How many weeks are in those 15 days, class?
7.
Well, 2 weeks.
2 weeks is in there, because 7 days in a week. So there's 2 sets of 7, so there's 2 more weeks. So they added 2 more weeks to the 18 weeks. 1 leftover day, so that's all they had left. So they got 20 weeks in a day. Questions on what they did there for the multiplication? I think you got a little bit of room there off to the side. Consider this for a moment. What if we had 6 pounds and 8 ounces? And we want to multiply that by 3. Maybe we got some grocery bags full of food that cost hundreds of dollars these days, it feels like. And we got 3 grocery bags, and all of them are exactly 6 pounds, 8 ounces. How much are we doing as we're weightlifting on our way back to the car? Well, we just multiply by 3. What do we do first, Michael?
Get multiply 3 by 8 and get 24.
24 ounces, okay, and then?
Multiply the pounds by 3 and you get 18 pounds.
But we're not going to leave the answer like that, Luciana. What do we need to do?
Subtract 16.
Take away one of the 16. So there's only 1 16 in here, right? Take away 16 of those ounces, turn it into 1 pound. So we're now up to 19 pounds, and we have left only 8 ounces. You could say 19 and a half pounds, but we don't want to. We want to say 19 pounds, 8 ounces. Write this one down. If we had 35 hours and 15 minutes. Maybe this is how long a particular person's work shift is. Now, normally, well, anyone know what's normal for a work week for an adult? How many hours?
8 or
8 in a day is typical. It's an 8-hour work day typically. So in a week, 5 work days would be
40.
40 is considered standard, but there are a lot of people who work just under 40. Let's suppose there's somebody whose work schedule calls for them to work 35 hours, 15 minutes, and 10 weeks in a row they work this shift. We want to know how much time they're spending at work over the course of those 10 weeks. Well, for starters, Bryson, we just, to get,
150 minutes.
there we go, 150 minutes, and
350 hours.
350 hours. But we're not going to leave the answer like this, because 150 minutes is plenty of minutes, class, to get at least another hour or 2. In this case, it is 2 hours. How many of those minutes do we need, Jalen, for 2 more hours? 120. 60 minutes, but another 60 would be 120. If we take away those 120 minutes, convert them into, we said, 2 more hours. That gets us up to how many hours? 352 hours, and we have how many leftover minutes? 30 minutes. Again, could we perhaps say 352 and a half hours of work? We could. I just leave it like this. We could even, if we really wanted to, maybe convert it into days, but we don't want to do that because that's a sad way to think about work. All right, so 352 hours, 30 minutes. By the way, think about it, that's a lot of time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Find a job you love. In all honesty, find a job you love. There are people who make big bucks, but they're miserable because they go to a job that they would describe as a rat race and they're not happy. It's not what they want to do. It's not what... Now, I will say this. There are some people just flat lazy and they don't want to do any job at all. They're going to be mad or miserable wherever they are because they just got a bad attitude. But in all seriousness, you find a job one day, no matter what it pays, it's still, you know, God wants you to do. It's where God wants you to be, and you enjoy doing what you do, so you don't hate going to work every day. I spend a lot of time here at work, but I love what I do. I love working with you guys. I love teaching you guys. I have fun while I do it. You might be able to tell. I love what I do. The pay isn't the big thing. God's going to meet my needs. God's already promised every one of us, if we're faithful to Him, He's going to meet our needs. The pay's not the big thing. The big thing is do what you love. Do what God's called you to do. Find something you enjoy. Because you don't want to spend that kind of time hating every minute of it. Right? Now, are there times you may have to work a job that may not be your favorite? For instance, while you're still in high school. Maybe you're working at Burger King or McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or some fast food restaurant. That's pretty normal because you got to make some money for college. You're learning work ethic. And it may be that's where God has you. That doesn't mean that's where you need to be long term, but while you're there, you can have a good attitude, right? Of the restaurants I named, which one is notorious for having very pleasant employees who seem like they enjoy their work, class?
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A. I was at Burger King one time, though, and there was this young lady there who was working behind the counter. And she was so incredibly pleasant. It kind of took me by surprise. Because Burger King has the good play places, so that's where we go a lot, because we got little kids. And so we go, and she's just so pleasant and professional. She takes the order. I don't think she said my pleasure, but other than that, she was like a Chick-fil-A employee, you know? And I was very impressed. And so she goes on to take the order, whatever. We go sit down. We notice there's no one at the counter. She's out there, she's sweeping the dining area. She's cleaning the tables. She sees people come in. She goes back to the counter. She checks to see how people are doing. Like, it was fantastic employee. She stood out. Now, part of it was because she was at Burger King. And go to Burger King, y'all know what I'm talking about. You know the kind of service you usually get, right? But she stood out because she was just so pleasant, did her job really well. She had a good testimony. I don't know if she was a Christian or not, but she was certainly a young lady with some work ethic, right? And so be that person, even if it's a job that you say, I do not want to do this the rest of my life. Okay, that's fine. There are going to be temporary jobs you're going to have to work along the way. Make sure you do a good job at it. And amazingly, if you'll be pleasant, I bet even working at Burger King, because she chose to go with a really good attitude and chose to shine, I bet she even maybe kind of enjoyed her work. She certainly had people be more pleasant to her than sometimes people are to Burger King employees because she was so pleasant, right? So anyway, that has nothing to do with the math. Multiplying mixed measures. We remember doing this in 6th grade, perhaps? Any questions on what we're doing here? All right, I want you to turn over then to page 232. Page 232. And I want you to do numbers 15 through 20. Page 232. And you do numbers 15 through 20. Multiplying mixed measures.
Pleasant.
Bryson finished her thinking. Okay.
Oh.
There's another happy 3-year-old down there. Maybe it's just singing. Now don't laugh. I've heard some of you sing. Just kidding. Got some people pointing at each other now. I have been stirring up discord among the brethren. All right.
I sing good, thank you very much.
All right, shh. All right, children, work quietly. If you finish early, go ahead and do the problem that's on the board. You're still working, take another minute or so to finish up these 6 problems. All right, pencils down. Even if you're not finished with all of these yet. Number 15, what did you initially get, Griffin?
40 feet, 35 inches.
Oh, 8 times 7?
I saw the 5, I think.
Yeah, the 5 kind of threw you off. You were, so it should have been 56 feet, 35 inches. So we know something's going to be off here. But I still think you took care of the 35 inches correctly. How many feet did you get out of those 35 inches?
2.
With how many leftover inches?
11.
11 leftover inches. But instead of adding 2 to your 40 to get 42, which is what I think you had, you'd want to add 2 to the
56.
56 to get how many feet?
58.
58 feet, 11 inches should have been our answer there. Number 16. Whew. What did you get when you initially multiplied here, Jalen?
I initially got 120 pounds and 130 ounces.
130 or 135?
I don't know, yeah.
Should have been 135 ounces there. We'll find out in a minute if you had it or not. So should have had 120 pounds, 135 ounces. Really big numbers here. We need to divide by what here, Jalen?
5. No.
How many ounces in a pound, class?
16.
16. So we needed to have divided by 16 here to see how many times 16 goes in. 16 is one of those awkward numbers that's hard for you to kind of use an estimator because it's right in the middle of no man's land, right? It's right between the 10 and the 20. Let's pick a number. How many times do you think maybe 16 would go into 135? Kirsten? 6. Let's try 16 times 6 real quick, and what do we get?
96.
That's not super close to 135. Let's try a couple more. Let's maybe try...
7.
I think we got room for even one more on top of that. Let's go all the way up to 8. Because this is a far cry from 135, isn't it? So maybe try 16 times 8 here. What would that give us?
8, 48, and then 8. 128.
120. Okay, that's pretty close. All right, so remember, that's 8 was what we multiplied by, right? So when we take away 128 ounces, how many ounces will we still be left with? 15 minus 8 is?
50 minus 8.
15 minus 8?
15 minus 8. I can't do that in my head.
Help, class?
7.
7. Of course, everything else is going to cancel. We still end up with 7 leftover ounces. But remember, we used an 8 to get that. That 8 class becomes 8 more pounds. And so we should end up with how many pounds here? 128 pounds. 7 ounces. That was a tough one. Some bigger numbers to use there. How many got it correct, though, on number 16? A few of you did. Questions from those who didn't? Yes, ma'am?
I thought, I was doing
All right, let's take a look at number 14. What did you get initially when you multiplied by the 6 here? Ben?
For 17,
Mm-hmm. Initial answer.
I was skipping around, so I didn't.
Didn't get to 17. Okay, let's go to Sam. What did you get for 17? Let's do 17 now then, Sam. Let's multiply 6 times the 3 quarts.
That's an 18.
18 quarts. And let's do 6 times 14. Start with 6 times 4.
18.
6 times 4.
Oh no, 24.
24. Let's carry the 2. 6 times 1 plus the 2. So we should have 84 gallons, 18 quarts initially. Now, how many quarts to make a gallon?
4 or 6. No.
It's 4. Okay, we got to make sure we have that memorized, though, don't we? You got to nail that down. Okay, so how many 4s can fit in 18? How many times does 4 go into 18? 4 times. With how many left over? 2 left over. So if there's a remainder of 2, those 2 become 2 quarts, and the 4 extra add on to the 84 gallons to get 88 gallons. How many 88 gallons, 2 quarts for number 17? Let's go back to Ben on 18. Did you get 18?
Yes.
All right, that was one that you did. What did you get initially when you multiplied?
12 feet and 108 yards.
All right, so initially 108 yards, 12 feet, but how many feet does it take to make a yard?
30.
3. So if we divide by 3, that gives us how many extra yards?
Or
How many leftover feet?
112.
Well, that's 112 yards, yes, but how many leftover feet?
0.
0. This one didn't end up as a mixed unit. How many just got the 112 yards like Ben did? Good. Questions on that? When there's no remainder, then you just don't have any leftover feet. Here we had leftover quarts because there was a remainder. Here we had leftover ounces, there was a remainder. Here there's no remainder, no leftover feet. Number 19, what did you get when you multiplied initially there? Jalen wants some redemption.
on number 19.
Mm-hmm.
I initially got 120 tablespoons and 30 teaspoons.
Good. 120 tablespoons, 30 teaspoons. But how many teaspoons does it take to make a tablespoon, class? 3. So if we divide by 3, how many more tablespoons do we get? 10. How many leftover teaspoons do we have, Jalen?
7. No. 9.
3 none. Again, no remainder. 3 goes into 30 evenly with no leftover teaspoons. So our answer is just
130 teaspoons.
130, put the B in it.
Tablespoons.
Tablespoons. There we go. 130 tablespoons. How many have the 130 tablespoons for this one? Back-to-back problems that worked out with no smaller units. Questions on 19. Yes, ma'am.
I realized what I did. I got the right answer on number 16, but I was reading number 19's answer.
Oh, okay. All right. Questions 19? All right, number 20. What did you get for your initial answer, Elaine?
77 bushels and 14 pecks.
Good. 77 bushels, 14 pecks. But how many pecks to make a bushel?
4.
How many times 4 go into 14?
3.
3 with how many left over?
2.
So we're going to keep 2 leftover pecks. Add 3 to the 77 bushels to get
80 bushels and 2 pecks.
80 bushels and 2 pecks. How many had that for number 20? I put this problem up here a moment ago, and some of you had a chance to work it. Let's all work it now. See if you didn't already do it. Go and jot this down maybe in the side of your book or maybe back inside of the back cover, extra sheet of paper, spiral notebook, whatever you've got out extra. And the first step, again, super easy. Don't make it hard. What do we get here? Michael.
9 pints, 18 quarts, 36 gallons.
Good. Don't make the first step hard. Just multiply by the 9. But then we come here to the 9 pints and we ask ourselves, how many pints does it take to make a quart, class?
2.
So we divide by 2. How many quarts are we going to get, class?
4.
4 more quarts. How many leftover quarts?
1.
Or what leftover pints, rather? 1 leftover pint. Bring that down. We add this together, class, to get how many quarts?
32.
Careful. 22 quarts. But, and there's the 36 gallons, by the way, but 22 quarts. How many quarts does it take to make it gallon class?
4.
4. So Griffin, we divide by the 4 to get how many more gallons? How much does 4 go into 22?
Trying to think.
Kirsten.
5.
5.
Yeah.
Right, 4 goes into 25 times. Griffin's like, oh yeah, I knew that. How many leftover quarts then back to Griffin for redemption? 2 more leftover quarts. So there's our 2 quarts, there's our 1 pint, and now we're up to how many gallons, Griffin?
5.
Oh, that was in addition to the 36 that we had way up here. 36 was 41. There we go. 41 gallons. For those who had already done the problem, how many had that answer? 41 gallons, 2 quarts, 1 pint. Questions for those who just now did it with me? Any questions on what to do when there's 3 units? Just means you have to do 2 conversions over at the end. Let's look at a couple of word problems here. Number 21, read that for us if you would, Bryson. Never mind, he's about to sneeze. Let's go to Sam. Read number 21.
For the last 8 weeks, Mr. Thalas has lost an average of 1 pound 3 OZ each week.
Ounces.
Ounces each week. How much did he lose in 8 weeks?
All right, so he's on a weight loss program. 1 pound 3 ounces each week. I'm not going to poo-poo that. 8 weeks later, how much has he lost? At your seats. And Sam, what do you get for your initial answer?
8 pounds and 30 OZ.
8 pounds and how many ounces?
No. 2 pounds and 30 OZ. Ounces.
8 weeks.
Yeah.
Every single week, 1 pound 3 ounces, 1 pound 3 ounces, 1 pound 3 ounces. What are we doing? Multiplying by 8. Don't add 8. Multiply by 8. Should get 8 pounds. How many ounces?
Oh, 24.
24 ounces. There we go. Should have had 8 pounds, 24 ounces initially, but how many of those ounces do I need to steal, class? I need to steal 16 of those ounces to make another pound. That's going to give me
8 pounds. Oh, 9 pounds.
9 pounds. And how many leftover ounces here, Sam?
No.
14 minus 6? Our brains are shutting down. We're excited about the field trip tomorrow, class. 8 ounces. There we go. 9 pounds, 8 ounces should have been our answer. Let's see. Do I have time for one more? Or is that about to be the bell? That's about to be the bell. That's a shame. All right. Let me make note of that. Homework for this evening. Homework for this evening is to do page 232, number 22, the one we were just about to do. Let's do that with the homework, page 232, number 22, and also page 234, 1 to 13. Page 234, 1 to 13. Now, that means you have homework on 2 different pages, 7th graders. That means you better make sure you wrote down 2 different pages, and you better do 2 different pages. Page 232, number 22, page 234, numbers 1 through 13. We'll go over this tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day.